Thank you so much for being here for another episode of the Maria Bruemmer Show. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to allow my viewers to get to know me a little bit better. Who is Maria Bruemmer, and how did she get her start in business? Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It really helps the channel grow, and I truly appreciate the support. Just to let you know, this is going to be video 1 of 2 parts. My story is a little bit long, but it's super inspiring, and I hope it helps people. So keep in mind, once part 1 is over, we're going to go right into doing part 2, and I look forward to sharing with you my story. So thanks for being here. Without further ado, let's get started. So thanks so much for being here. I'm Maria Bruemmer. This is the Maria Bruemmer Show, and as you know, I always start out my videos the same way, by giving my special guests the opportunity to allow my viewers to get to know them a little bit better, tell us a little bit about their story, their journey, and how they got to where they are in life. And so today I thought I would do the same. I would allow my viewers to get to know me, Maria Bruemmer, the host of the show, a little bit better, and tell you a little bit about my life, my journey, and how I got to where I am today. I recently was blessed to have the opportunity to be on a TV show and actually tell my story. And the owner of that TV show actually has a local business where she helps the disabled in giving them hope and encouragement, and inspires them to know that they can have a life outside of being disabled, and they too can achieve great things. And I found that to be super inspiring, and I was blessed to have the opportunity to speak on her show. And I'm just going to let you know right now, my life has not had an easy start, and I actually did have to overcome a very severe physical disability. So if anyone can speak on having a life outside of being disabled and being able to achieve great things in, even though you have a disability that is making life more challenging for you, that you too can truly reach your dreams and goals and succeed no matter what. Mindset and knowing that you can here is what's most important, regardless of what people say, because it is a reality that even your own family may not be the support you need, and may be the very ones telling you that you can't, and keeping you in a lower vibrating mindset that isn't going to help you. You may have to encounter people who are hating on you and treating you bad because you're different, or getting in the way of your goals and dreams, and making life harder for you just because they're unhappy with their own selves, right? So regardless of what life throws at you, and regardless of what cards you're dealt, if you have a mindset that says, yes, I can achieve my goals and dreams, and you're serious about writing your goals and dreams down and achieving them, there's very little that can stand in your way. What it comes down to is having a mindset that's positive, having a mindset that says, I can do it, and I won't let anything stop me, and having a why that's big enough to keep you going through all the challenging times. And one of the things that really kept me going through the 6 back surgeries that I had to have, because when it comes to the physical disability that I had to overcome, I was diagnosed at a very young age with a very severe case of scoliosis. That is a very crippling disease that has to do with the curvature of your spine. And at age 11, I had to have emergency surgery because my spine was so twisted that it punctured my lung and I stopped breathing. So I had to get rushed to the hospital and have emergency surgery, and that surgery went really wrong, and it led to me having to have 5 more reconstructive surgeries. We had to move from the Bay Area to the San Diego area to get a second opinion and a better back surgeon, and that's where we found Dr. Barnia, who reconstructed my back and gave me a second chance at life. And there were some complications that I went through with all those surgeries that almost killed me. I almost didn't get a second chance at life. I almost didn't get the chance to be able to live my dreams and to be able to even see if I was going to have a life outside of being disabled. And so I can tell you firsthand, I truly understand how precious life is and how valuable having a second chance at life is. And that we shouldn't take things for granted, because life can come and go as quickly as, you know, a split second. But with that, I learned that, having the right motivation is everything. It's truly key. And I think my parents kind of had an idea that they needed to find something that was going to motivate me to keep going through 6 back surgeries, because the last thing that you want when you're going through something that physically debilitating and mentally stressful is just giving up, because that will be the first thing that just, ends it for you. So they promised me the one thing that I wanted in my entire life, which was ever since I was a little girl. I wanted to have a horse. I wanted to learn to ride. And so if you're gonna have your child go through 6 major open back surgeries and have enough motivation to fight with every fiber of their being, you better promise them something that they really, really want, because, what other motivation do they have? And I think my parents knew that, so they promised me a horse. And I remember like it was yesterday. They kept telling me when I needed to have another surgery, oh, after this surgery, we'll get you a horse. Oh, you need one more? After this surgery, we'll get you a horse. Oh, you need another surgery this year? After this surgery, we'll get you a horse. And what my parents didn't realize is that every time they told me that, right before I was put under for another surgery, I was telling my back surgeon, Dr. Barnia, hey, Dr. Barnia, after this surgery, I'm going to get a horse. After this surgery, I'm going to have a horse. I'm going to learn to ride. After this surgery, my parents are promising me to get a horse. And Dr. Barnia always looked at me like a work of art. He really had a lot of admiration for me. And he was really intrigued by my certain case of scoliosis. And he wanted to make sure that any fellow doctors that came after him learned how to properly treat such a case of scoliosis. So not only did he take a lot of pride in reconstructing my back and doing everything possible to make sure that I got through it, but I also got a chance to live somewhat of a normal life after having 6 back surgeries, but he also wanted to make sure that he left a legacy for his fellow doctors after him to be able to learn how to do this properly. So he actually wrote textbooks where my code name is actually the technical term for my type of scoliosis. So every time he's referring to 6 Skepto in these textbooks that he wrote to teach other doctors how to treat scoliosis, he's actually referring to me. And I remember that every time I would tell him that my parents were promising me a horse after this surgery, he would smile and he'd be like, we'll see about getting you that horse. And I'd go under, I'd have another surgery, I'd have another 9 months of recovery, I'd have physical therapy, I'd be bedridden for God knows how long, and I'd be fighting for the chance to have my horse. And after my 5th surgery, I went to my parents, I'm just, someone around here owes me a horse. We're almost done here. I want to cash in on that promise. And so my parents, I don't know if it was fear or the fact that they really didn't think I was going to make it this far and that they probably wouldn't need to buy me a horse. I'm not sure what it was, but they were very reluctant to hold their end of the bargain. And so they said, well, we really just don't think it's safe for you to ride a horse. So, we if we're going to even consider it, you need to find someone who can teach you safely, but also someone who has the right kind of insurance policy to be able to insure teaching someone who's had 6 back surgeries, right? So you need to find someone that can teach you safely and also has the insurance policy to cover you. And I'm just like, okay. Well, I wasn't going to let any stipulations stand in the way of the promise that I've been promised my entire life going through all these surgeries. So I was going to make that happen. So I grabbed the phone book and I started calling every single horse ranch in the San Diego area. And I got a lot of no's. I got so many no's. Like, I really didn't think that anyone was going to ever tell me yes. But that really started to teach me how everything in life is a numbers game. And if you have the right mindset that, you're going to make it happen no matter what, eventually you're going to get a yes. And when you're dialing for dollars in business, or you're going after that deal, or you're marketing, or you're doing whatever you're doing, when you have to make a ton of calls and you're looking for a yes, there's only so many no's that you're going to get before you get that yes. It's just, that's mathematical science. So I called the last ranch, and I'm just like, well, it's this or nothing. And I talked to the trainer at that ranch. And she was someone who boarded a horse there, and she also taught people how to ride and trained horses. The last ranch I called was Sandy Creek Ranch in San Diego, and this lady also told me no. She's like, I don't have the insurance policy to cover someone who's had 6 back surgeries. There's absolutely no way that I can teach you how to ride. And something in me told me to ask. I said, are you by any chance the owner of the ranch? She says, no, I'm not. I'm just someone who boards a horse here and teaches people how to ride. I'm a horse trainer. And I said, okay, well, who is the owner of the ranch? And she said, well, that would be Miss Lynn Spicer. I said, okay, well, I very much would like to speak with Miss Lynn Spicer, if I may. And she said, okay, well, I'll give her the message and have her give you a call. And I really didn't think that this lady was going to give Lynn Spicer the message. I mean, it really just felt like she wanted to get me off the phone at that point. And so I wasn't expecting a call back. And I felt pretty defeated. I won't lie. I thought, what's the point in having a hope and a promise you've been given your whole life to get through all the surgeries, just to get through all these surgeries and not be able to cash it on that promise? It was a pretty low moment in my life, I'm not going to lie. But then lo and behold, 2 days later, the phone rings. And my mom walks in my room and she says, you have a phone call. And I said, who is it? And she says, I don't know. It's someone named Lynn Spicer. The minute I heard that name, I'm like, I'll take it. And so I took the call, and on the other end of the line was this very, very nice voice. It had a sweet, really cool country twang, and really nice lady. And she says, is this Maria? And I said, yes, ma'am, it is. And she says, well, Maria, I hear you've been calling every ranch here in the San Diego area looking for someone to teach you how to ride. Is that correct? And I said, yeah. Yes, ma'am, it is. And she says, when I hear you've gotten a lot of people to tell you no. I understand that riding horses is your dream, and you got a lot of people telling you that you can't. Is that true? And I said, yes. Yes, ma'am, it is. She says, well, I'm calling you today to let you know that I don't give a crap what those people say. I'm the owner of Sandy Creek Ranch, and I have an insurance policy that'll cover you. And if those people aren't going to teach you how to ride, then I'm going to teach you how to ride my damn self. And then I can't even begin to tell you how high I jumped up and down. I was so excited. I got such a flood of joy and emotion that it just literally turned everything that was not right in that moment to complete positivity. And I was so excited. And I thanked her profusely, and I said, thank you so much. Let me check with my parents, and I'll get right back to you. I'm sure they're going to be excited to hear this. And so I go to my parents, and I'm really happy, and I'm like, Mom, Dad, guess what? And they're like, what? And I said, the owner of Sandy Creek Ranch is happy to teach me how to ride a horse, and she has the insurance policy to cover teaching me. And the look on my parents' face was priceless, and I was also a little confused by it because their jaw dropped, and they were in complete shock. It's like they weren't expecting me to get a yes to finding someone to teach me how to ride a horse. And it was almost like they were banking on that. And so I don't know if it was fear or just, hoping that they didn't have to buy me a horse or whatever. But they said, okay, well, that's great. But, we really don't think that it's safe for you to ride a horse. So if we're going to consider letting you, you need to make sure that Dr. Barnea, your back surgeon, is in agreement with it, and then we'll consider it. And I'm like, okay. Stipulation number 2. If anybody's going to talk to Dr. Barney about what's good for my back and what I'm going to do with my life, it's going to be me. And so I called Dr. Barney's office. I talked to his secretary. I scheduled a meeting. I said, it's very important. I need an hour of his time. Can you please schedule a meeting? And she said, of course. I scheduled a meeting. I remember just like it was yesterday, I met Dr. Barney in his office. My parents were in the hallway. I sat down. I said, Dr. Barney, my parents are in the hallway right now expecting a yes or no from you. And you know, but right before every surgery that you put me under, that I would always tell you that one of these days I'm going to have a horse. And I let him know that I found someone who's willing to teach me to ride and has the insurance policy to cover it. And I said, my parents are wanting you to tell me that you agreed to letting me learn. And I said, Dr. Barney, are you going to stand in the way of my dream? And he smiled, and he looked at me with such admiration, and he said, you know what, Maria? I legally cannot tell you no. And I knew this day would come. But you're an adult, and you can technically do whatever you want. But what I can tell you is that it would not be prudent for you to ride a horse. If there was something to ever happen to your back from riding a horse or falling off of one, it would be detrimental. And I said, Dr. Barney, that's all I need to hear. The fact that you can legally not tell me no is all that I need to hear. And as far as what you consider to be prudent, well, that's a risk I'm going to have to take for following my dreams. And he smiled, and he always knew that I was a very spirited young lady that was not going to let life stand in my way. And he says, I wish you the very best. And he gave me a hug, and with that I went out into the hallway, and I told my parents, I said, we better start looking for a horse to ride, because Dr. Barney cannot legally tell me no, and as far as my dreams are concerned of learning to ride a horse, he wishes me the very best. And again, my parents were shocked, but they were out of stipulations to put in my way, and it was time to put up or shut up. So they agreed to start looking for a horse to ride, and they had many conversations with Lynn Spicer. And so it was agreed upon that I needed a gaited horse that was very smooth to start learning. And so we found a little Peruvian Paso in Temecula, California that was being sold. She was 15 years old, and she had some leg problems, but she was a good starter horse. And I got 7 good riding years out of her, and she was an amazing little Barbie horse that I loved a lot. She was beautiful. I learned to ride, and I learned to ride really well. And I eventually got Shango, whom I purchased with my own money, that I made with selling horse cookies and having a grooming business on Sandy Creek Ranch, which was my first taste of entrepreneurship. And I figured if I can negotiate my way into having my parents agree to giving me a horse and letting me learn to ride, and I can find someone to say yes to teaching me after having 6 back surgeries, and I can also get my surgeon on board with it, there's nothing stopping me. I mean, my negotiation skills are so on point that I probably should become an entrepreneur. So that's what kind of led me into starting my horse cookie business and my horse grooming business. And when Roblesa did eventually go lame, and I needed to buy Shango, it was my networking amongst the other horse ladies where I met Shango's current owner, and she really didn't connect with him too much, so she sold him to me for $2,000, and I got to pay her $50 a month, and I eventually bought him, and he was a good little horse, totally unassuming, full of spirit and just a great personality, and he had a whole 3rd gear that he just saved for competition. And every time another horse would be coming up on his shoulder and he saw him out of the corner of his eye, he would just take off, kick in that 3rd gear, and we'd win every time. Looks can be deceiving. And some of the most unassuming people can do amazing things. And some of the most unassuming little horses can be some of the greatest, bravest, best, fastest racers out there. But yeah, so I had an amazing experience, both riding horses, learning to ride, getting my first taste of entrepreneurship, learning how to negotiate. And I remember I gifted Dr. Barnia, who gave me a second chance at life and was able to rebuild my back and allow me to live a normal life. One of the greatest gifts. I gave him a photo of me riding my horse at full gallop in the arena, full-on cowgirl style, and he framed it and he kept it in his office. He always wanted to see me live life to the fullest, and welcome to part 2 of the Maria Bruemmer story on the Maria Bruemmer Show. Please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. As I told you before, this is a 2-part series because my story is a little bit long. It is super inspiring, so I hope it helps people out there. But this is part 2 of 2. So we just did part 1, where I told you about how I started off life with overcoming a severe case of scoliosis, and I talked about what kept me going through all those surgeries, which was my dream of riding a horse and the promise that my parents made me to one day get me a horse after I was done having surgery. How my first surgery went really wrong, and how we moved to San Diego and Dr. Barnia gave me a second chance at life, and how I was able to negotiate with my parents, find Lynn Spicer at Sandy Creek Ranch, who not only had the heart to teach me how to ride after 6 back surgeries, but had the insurance policy to cover me, and how I had got Dr. Barnia to agree to allowing me to live my dream, and the gift that I gave him after it was all said and done, and he truly appreciated that picture of me riding that horse, and he framed it in his office. He always knew I was going to achieve great things, and I think that was the most fulfilling part of his job, was to watch me not let life or anything life threw at me stand in my way. I also talked about how I got my first taste of entrepreneurship on Sandy Creek Ranch, and how I created my horse cookie business and my horse grooming business, and learned about networking and building a market base for a product and a service that allowed me to buy my horse Shango. So this being part 2, we're going to take it from what happened after Sandy Creek Ranch. At this point, I had a clear vision of the type of businesswoman I wanted to become. I knew that there was nothing in life that could stop me from achieving my goals and dreams. I knew that mindset is everything. And no matter what life throws at you, if you believe that you can with all of your heart, and you have a goal with a plan of action and a why that's big enough, you can truly achieve anything. And so I wanted to have a life outside of my parents, outside of being disabled, outside of, what was considered my normal in those days. I wanted to be my own person and live my own life, and be able to reach my goals. So I knew that I was going to have to be able to support myself, to be able to find work, to be able to get life experience, and having to start life at age 23 and figure all of that stuff out wasn't easy, but hey, I did it. And I realized in 2008 it was very hard to find a job in the San Diego area. I did have a first job that I started at SeaWorld. That was interesting. And I can tell you that Social Security income, which is something that they give to disabled people to quote unquote help them, it's the biggest ball and chain that you will ever have to deal with. It is a program that says it's going to help you, but as a matter of fact, it keeps you poor. And there's only 2 ways to get off of Social Security income, and that is to pass away or to get married and to hope that you and your spouse make enough to not qualify for it anymore. And when I was living in San Diego in 2008, I had met someone on MySpace back when MySpace was cool. And we kind of had a long-distance relationship going, and I ended up, going back and forth from San Diego to Portland, Oregon to visit him. And I figured out that the job market in Portland, Oregon at the time was a lot better than San Diego. And so eventually, after 2.5 years of going back and forth and establishing a long distance relationship with this person, we decided that it was probably time for me to move to Portland, Oregon. And I'm like, okay, awesome, because then it'll be a lot easier for me to get a job and be able to figure out how to get off of Social Security income. And, I had high hopes for this relationship. I did everything I could to encourage and support my spouse and be able to, make sure we got on the same page about goals and dreams and being able to get somewhere in life and live life to the fullest and be able to, get established and be able to enjoy life, right? Not have to worry about it. And I learned that who you end up being with has a lot to do with how you end up succeeding in life. Your spouse can either bring one of two things. They can bring chaos or they can bring value. And I eventually married this person. And I really hoped that they would grow and want to learn and want to better themselves and want to reach goals with me and be able to achieve great things with me. I was always trying to encourage him to do more and to be able to take life to the next level. And I found myself eventually talking to someone who didn't want to listen. And he didn't want to learn, didn't want to grow, didn't want to help. And he eventually was holding me back. And even though we got married and I hoped that things would change, and I was able to get off of Social Security income, and we moved from state to state to state to state for jobs that he couldn't keep. Me being encouraging and helping him to get established first, finding out that he was never going to do it. And so when we got to Vancouver, Washington, I decided that I was really going to plant my roots and focus on me. I was going to get my career going. I was going to figure out what I wanted to do with life. I was going to figure out what I wanted to do for a living, and I was going to become that businesswoman and entrepreneur that I envisioned for myself back when I was on Sandy Creek Ranch doing my horse cookie and horse grooming business. It was time to reawaken the dreams and goals that I had set for myself back then. And so I decided that if my husband wasn't going to help me, didn't want to learn, didn't want to grow, didn't want to do it with me, then I was going to do it myself. And that if I was able to achieve it and it could benefit us both, then great. But it turns out if someone really doesn't want to succeed themselves, they're not going to let you succeed either, because that's a threat to them. And so even though we got married, I got off of Social Security income. I was able to start selling insurance, which is interesting, right? Because I had to negotiate my way into getting my dream of riding a horse and find someone who had the insurance to cover someone who had 6 back surgeries, right? I think that's where I thought, maybe insurance is a good idea. So anyways, I had a successful career of selling insurance for 3 years. And then I joined a very prestigious school that taught real estate investing. And I jumped into that. And after 3 years of selling insurance and being successful at doing that, I went full-time self-employed. And because my husband at the time wouldn't help me in business, didn't have any interest in learning about real estate, didn't really want to learn or grow or do anything past, go to his 9 to 5, come home and drink beer, then I had to figure it out on my own. And so I found someone who I could network with, JV with, do a deal with. And my first deal was actually a 10-unit complex. And my JV partner didn't end up doing his contractual dues and left me in a deal that was not a good deal. And I learned a lot from that very challenging experience. And I'm very thankful for the business coaches that were there to help me because of this school, that were able to help me get through it and learn what I needed to, and motivate me to keep going and do the things that I had to do to come out of this okay. And there's a lot of good experience and a lot of hearts to help that really did have my best intentions in mind, and wanted to see me succeed. And I still remember to this day how they helped me navigate that entire situation and gave me the action steps to take care of what I needed to take care of to come out of it okay. And I got the property sold. I fired my JV partner. I got lawyers. I did what I needed to do. And I still remember the one specific coach who was also the one to give me the homework that was actually the catalyst to my divorce. He helped me through a lot in those days. He actually said, Maria, you're very smart, you're very intelligent, you've got a lot of will to do some really amazing things, and you're going to get through this. I know it's not easy right now, but this too shall pass, one day at a time. And he says, before I give you your homework, I want to ask you a question. And I said, sure, Coach, what's your question? And he said, what is your husband doing? And why isn't he helping you in business? And I said, well, Coach, my husband doesn't have any interest in being a real estate investor. He doesn't have any interest in real estate or business or becoming an entrepreneur. He doesn't have any interest in learning about it or helping me in business. My husband is unemployed. And he said, oh, I see. And he was also looking at past notes where I had tried to get my husband involved. I had tried to, have other coaches encourage him to want to learn. And they left notes. Even they couldn't get him to do it. So, you can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped. And you can't encourage someone to change if they don't want to be changed. And if they're stuck in victim mentality and they want to live wayward and that's what they decide they want to do, then at some point you got to let them just do that on their own. And so I answered Coach's question, and then he said, okay, I see. So do you have the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he said. And I said, yes, of course. That is one of the greatest books that every entrepreneur should have. And if you're a real estate investor, that's something you should definitely treat as your Bible. Of course I have that book. And my business coach said, good. Here's your homework. You ready? And I said, yes, Coach, I'm ready. And he said, good. I want you to, when your husband gets home, to hand him that book, look him in the eye, and say, if you care about this marriage, you will read that book. And depending on what answer you get to that and how he responds to that, I think you know what you have to do. And I'll leave you with this. This too shall pass, one day at a time. See, that business coach wanted me to succeed so bad. He knew that even though I was having to make a lot of tough decisions, he knew that the toughest decision was to let go of something that wasn't helping me. And that he had enough faith in me to know that if I was able to let go of what I needed to that was holding me back, that there was no stopping me. And it really reminded me of when I was motivating my own self to reach my own goals and reach my dreams, and finding out that if I can have 6 back surgeries, learn to ride a horse, make my dreams happen, no matter what, I could do anything, right? So if I could get through all of that, if I needed to cut loose of some dead weight that wasn't helping me, even if it was my own husband, that achieving my dreams and goals was going to be most important. And like I said, if someone is not willing to change for the better, for themselves, they're not going to want to change for you. And your spouse can only bring one of 2 things into your life. It's either value or chaos. And I was done with chaos. I was done with encouraging someone that didn't want to change. I was done believing in, being able to see potential in someone that didn't want to do anything with it. Even if I saw potential in there, it doesn't mean that he was going to do anything with it. And so I did my homework. When my husband came home, I looked him in the eye. I handed him that book, and I told him, if you care about this marriage, you will read this book. And he looked at me, he looked at the book, he looked at the kitchen table, and he said, I will read it when I'm ready. And then he walked away. That book sat on that kitchen table for 3 months before I left him. I gave him every opportunity in all the 10 years we were together to want to do better for himself so that we could have a better life. He didn't want to do it. I gave him every opportunity I could to encourage him, to believe in him, to help him to keep going when things were hard for him, in hopes that he would do the same for me, and he didn't do it. I had to figure things out for both of us and for myself, just like I had always had to do. And at some point, I decided no more. I was going to choose myself, my happiness, my dreams, my goals, and the life that I knew I was going to live one day as the business owner that I knew I could become, as a businesswoman and entrepreneur that I knew I could be, over that relationship. So I left. And along the way, I made some great connections in the lending industry. I made some great connections in real estate. I was able to learn about Forex and cryptocurrency. I was able to create streams of income with network marketing companies and becoming an affiliate with e-funding experts. I was able to build relationships with other investors, helping them fund their deals. And in working really hard and bringing a lot of value to the right people, I was able to earn the opportunity to eventually become partner of e-funding experts. And at the end of October in 2022, at the end of October in 2022, I ended up moving up here to e-funding experts to Chicago, to the Chicagoland area to become partner of e-funding experts. And I'm working out of the office now, and I'm very successful in helping other investors, business owners, and entrepreneurs find the funding they need for their businesses and their real estate deals. And I feel so blessed to have that opportunity. I've been able to create multiple streams of income with network marketing companies and learn about cryptocurrency and Forex trading and NFTs. I've been offered to have the Maria Bruemmer Show become a TV show. I've been offered to be on other people's TV shows and tell my story. I've also been featured in a magazine when it comes to real estate professionals because I was able to get the offer to do a speaking opportunity where I did a presentation for funding for real estate professionals on a virtual event for real estate investors. I got so many great opportunities that helped me take my life to the next level when I decided that I was going to choose my dreams and my goals and my happiness over anything else. Well, the minute that I decided that I was going to close that chapter that wasn't helping me and was holding me back, and I was going to truly find myself and do whatever it was needed to succeed, and that there was nothing that was going to stop me, life started getting really good. And I just wanted to encourage everyone by telling my story that no matter what you have going on, there will always be people telling you that you can't. My own family told me that I can't. I got to not only have to go through not only had to go through 6 back surgeries, but I also got to watch my brother, who had no physical disabilities, succeed and reach his goals and become super successful as a lawyer. I got to watch my parents praise him and, oh my gosh, he's so amazing and he's going to be so successful, and we're so amazed. And then they'd turn to me and say, you know what, you can't because you're disabled, but we'll always take care of you. It was just such a slap in the face, like, oh, we don't have any faith that you'll be able to do anything with your life. And you know what? I chose early on that I wasn't going to let people tell me that they can't. And any time someone told me that I can't, I was just going to use that as motivation to prove to them and myself that I can. And I did that with finding someone to teach me how to ride. I did that with getting my back surgeon to agree to letting me learn to ride a horse. I did that to getting to my parents to follow through on their promise to letting me have a horse. I did that when it came to creating my own businesses on Sandy Creek Ranch and learning about entrepreneurship. I did that when I joined Fortune Builders, which is a prestigious school where I learned to do real estate investing, and fired my ex-business partner, and learned through getting my first deal, which didn't go to plan. Failure taught me a lot, and failure is just a part of what happens when you're on your way to success. And just like there's a rainbow after a rainstorm, there's always success after failure. You have to learn from your mistakes, and you have to fail through. And you have to want it bad enough to keep going. Just like I wanted to get through those back surgeries bad enough to learn to ride a horse, I'm always going to want it bad enough to get through anything that is meant to teach me something on my way to success. And I'm not going to let anything in life stop me, because I know here and here that no matter what, I can get it done. And I just want to encourage people to know that you too, if I can do it, anybody can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. There's nothing stopping you. You just have to have the right mindset. You have to have a why that's strong enough, and you have to motivate yourself to get over the fear and to just get through whatever you encounter.